Hey YouTube, how you guys doing today? Kevin here coming at you with another video. Oh yeah. So today we're going to be doing another Carb Talk video. I'm not going to give this a Carb Talk number. I don't know if it's part 1, part 5, part 9. I've done a lot of carburetor talk videos. This is going to be another one because I get asked a ton of questions. So, I'm just going to snap into it like a Slim Jim. And I'm just going to go ahead and start right in on it. Alright, so part of carburation is understanding what it does. It literally is the heart of the engine. If your carburetor is a slight bit out of whack, your engine's going to either run awful or bad or just okay. Alright? Fine-tuning a carburetor can make or break a bike. Okay? It can make a bike feel like $1,000,000 or it can make it feel like a scrapyard heap. Okay, so we're going to talk about a few basics. I'm working right here on a lot of Kawasaki carburetors, small bikes, KDs, KMs, KEs, okay? This is for my 100 people, my 80 people, my 90s, my MCs, my GTO guys over in Pakistan, my, what do you call it there? My mud hoppers down in Louisiana, my, what do you call it there? Oil field guys over there in Dakotas. You guys get the idea. Okay, this is for all of you guys. Now, there's a couple of things I got to talk to you guys about first and foremost. Jetting. Okay, you got a main jet and you got a pilot jet. So I'm just going to go right into it and tell you what these things are and what they do. Well, obviously they're jets, which you guys knew that already. But this is your pilot jet. This works from idle to quarter throttle. So when you turn back your handle just a quarter turn, this is the idle. This is the jet that you're using. There is a number stamped on it in some place. All jets, you should be able to see that little tiny hole. If you hold that up to the light, you should be able to see through it. And on the pilot jet, there's a couple of little holes. I'm going to get into those couple of little holes in a little bit. But you should see light through those little holes as well. So through the center and through the back here. Okay? This works. This is a pilot jet. And this right here works from idle to quarter throttle. This is a main jet. And you should also be able to see through the light, through the center of it. There is no other holes on this one. Okay? And there's also a number stamped on here someplace. Okay? Now, with that said, oh yeah, this jet right here works from a quarter throttle to full throttle. Okay? So, with that said, I keep getting asked, Kevin, what is my bike supposed to have for a jet? And what does the book say? Okay, well here's a little problem with the book. The book tells you one number with the carburetor came with factory. There is a little disclaimer that's not in the book. So I'm going to give you the disclaimer. If you live in a place that has a higher altitude than where the bike originally came from, you're going to have to rejet. If you do an air filter modification, you're going to have to rejet. If you do an exhaust modification, you're going to have to rejet. If you bore out an engine way bigger than it was normally intended for, you're going to have to rejet. Okay? Now, that's the lecture part of that. Okay, so, I get asked literally a ton of questions, so I'm going to try to get to all your questions. One question I get is, what do you call it? The rod, the needle rod, what does it do and how come there's adjustment clips on it? And why is mine, his was one notch up from the middle? Okay. Alright, fair enough. The book says it's supposed to be in the middle. That is the baseline. Whenever you buy a carburetor and you take it apart, you're always going to find that that little clip right there, you can see it not right there, is going to be in the middle. That is the basic setting for the, what do you call it there? The needle rod. Now this rod right here starts off fat and thins out. Okay? So it starts off lean here and then gets richer as it goes down. Alright? So I'm going to explain to you that in a little bit. The needle shape makes a big difference on how this thing runs. I don't know if you can see him too well in the video, but this one's really, really fat. This one right here is really skinny. And then I have one that goes into a really hard taper. Look at that one. Let me see if I can put these on a white piece of paper. See if you can see the difference. There's that one there. And that one. You can see how fat this one is over that one. Okay. The red one is a high performance needle. Alright. I'm going to explain to you that too. Alright. So, what happens? How come the idle, you can adjust the idle mixture, but you can't adjust the high speed mixture? Good question. Alright, so I'm going to draw that out for you. So we're going to move some carburetors right off to the side here. Remember I was talking to you a second ago about the little holes that are on the side of the pilot jet? I'm going to answer what those questions are right now. Okay, so front of the carburetor right here, we're just going to make a carburetor shape like this. Here's the bowl. And this right here is where it mounts onto. Okay? So the air flows this way. In the front of the carburetor, there's a little orifice. Little jet. See if I can use a clean carburetor and show you on the brand new one. See right there? That little jet right there? See how it's in alignment with the main jet and the pilot jet? Do you see this little tube here? There are two tubes. One you might notice is for the idle mixture. The other one you might notice is for the jet, for that air orifice. Okay? It comes all the way back here. So, what that tube does is it cuts through the whole entire carburetor and is capped off on the end. You have your main jet inside and your pilot jet. Okay? Now let's see if I can blow you up here. Okay, so you got your main jet, M-A-I-N, and pilot, P-I-L-O-T. Okay, pilot jet. Okay? Mind you, the fuel level is 4 millimeters from the top of the thing. So both of these are in the fuel. Okay? Keep that in mind. The air passes through here and allows a little bit of air to go past here. This creates a siphon effect. So when the high velocity comes through, it actually pulls the fuel up into the stream. So you got your air, and that's your fuel from your pilot jet. If these holes are clogged, instead of being a mist, it's going to be a liquid. And what's going to happen is you're going to flood the engine because it's going to suck up like a straw. As opposed to being, these holes are designed to allow only so much fuel to be sucked through the jet. If you cap them, now you're going to be sucking straight gas from the bowl into the engine, flooding it out. Because you're going to put too much fuel in the airstream. Now that is also the same case with the pilot jet. But the pilot jet doesn't have the holes on the side. Here's why. Because that tube that fits down into the center of the carburetor has a hole right here for you. Okay? This hole is below the air horn. This is called an air horn. It's below it. It's below it. So it's about the same height as this jet. Okay, you see where this is going? So this jet aligns with this hole, allowing air to fill up inside here as well with the fuel. So, instead of having a straight stream of fuel going in, it comes up as a mist. It breaks it up. Okay, so it only sucks in what it needs, but it allows it to break up so it can go into the airstream nicely. So if this orifice in the front of your carburetor is plugged, what's going to happen is this hole right here in the front is going to be plugged, and then it's going to suck up fuel like there's no tomorrow and just simply flood out your engine. Like the problem with John's carburetor. Now, John told me when I do the next video to let you guys know that the carburetor came out great, and he's using the bike. So, if you look, see the center orifice? You might notice there's a little ring gap around the end of it. It's almost like this tube. There's like a tube in the middle. There's a little air gap right there, and there's a wall. The wall's supposed to stop it so that the stream can come out this way. It's just like a little dam. Okay, and that controls which direction the flow of fuel is going into. These are also keyed in. You'll see there's a little notch cut out right here on the side, and it coincides with the carburetor itself. See a little pin right there on the side? It locks in. So you can only put those in one way. There is no seals at the bottom of these, jets. So what happens is the jet where are you? The jet, this right here, the orifice, presses into the carburetor. There's a little bank. I'll show you the bank. Oh, not that one. Is this one? Yeah. There's a little ridge right around there. Can you see that little ridge? That's where the washer sits. So you have a washer, a brass washer, that's a little bigger than the diameter of the orifice itself. And then your jet screws in and holds it nice and tight. Okay? So when you clean your carburetor, make sure you take the time to clean your orifices, because if you don't clean these, you're gonna have that flooding problem. Okay. Now we have that right there is for the main jet. Okay? The idle mixture screw. How does that work? Well, I'll show you. It does exactly what it says. Idle mixture. Here's your screw right here. This orifice goes all the way back and then cuts up that way. Okay? So you get your oxygen coming in this way, and then this one here. This one, can you see that little hole right there? Yep. So you have an insert right here called the insulator. And then just below it, there's a little hole right there. See that little one? That little orifice is tiny. Make sure you clean that. That right there is for your idle mixture screw. What that does, you have two holes. You have a hole here. That's what your fuel comes out of. And then this one right here is what adjusts a little bit of fuel comes out of that with the idle mixture screw. So it what do you call it there? It changes the amount of air going to your pilot jet. Okay, you follow what I'm saying? So, the book will have you set these to 1.5 turns out. So, I'm going to go over that with you today. I see a lot of people over-tightening these things, and I want to go over that with you real quick. Again, I'm trying to do this through looking through the camera. It's a little difficult. Okay, it goes until it just touches. Don't crank it in until it just touches. Then you back it off half, 1, half. Okay, now, is that adjusted? The book says it's 1.5. Is it adjusted? The answer is no. This can be fine-tuned. Okay, it can be fine-tuned. That is the starting point, 1.5 turns out. It might be you might end up turning it 1 1/8 turns out. You might end up turning out 2 full turns out, depending upon your bike, depending upon your atmosphere, like your elevation, and depending upon what you're running for a jet. So the 1.5 is the starting point. This only adjust your idle mixture screw. Your only idle mixture. Okay? Now, you're going to find that it might bog when you give it a little throttle, so you have to turn it in a little bit. or out, depending upon. This right here basically adjusts your idle to a quarter throttle. So you're going to find the happy medium in between that. Okay? Now you're probably asking yourself, which is another question that I received, Kevin, if that right there adjusts the throttle from idle to a quarter, I'm trying to remember all these questions, from idle to a quarter throttle, what adjusts the high speed? Glad you asked. That is done by these two. Your slide and needle. Now what happens with that, let me see if I can find that part. Here it is. Okay, so this right here is the orifice again. We're back at the orifice. This sits inside the center part of the carburetor. Right through the center there. Just like so. And the needle on the slide fills in that gap. Okay? So right now, the bike is running, but it's running on the idle circuit. As you throttle up, as this pulls up, now you see the gap in there? Now fuel is starting to flow through it. Okay? Fuel is starting to flow through the jet and into the carburetor. Now you're past the quarter throttle, and now your main jet is taking over. And the further up you go, the more fuel you get in there. So it starts off lean and ends up rich. Okay? So, that's the other thing I want to talk to you guys about. Sometimes you need adjustments on the top end. If you move, see these little, hopefully this thing can focus. See those little grooves right there? There are 5 of them. Okay? Here's your needle right here. I just made an eccentric rod here. Okay? If you move it up, you're leaning it out. If you move it down, you're riching it up. Okay? When you get a carburetor, it always starts in the middle. The book tells you the middle. But depending upon what jet you're running and your elevation, you may have to either richen it or lean it. Depends. Or lean it, richen it. Okay? So remember, when you pull up on it, you're actually pushing this down. So that's going to lean it out. And then when you bring it up, when you put it down bottom, you're actually pulling it up, and then it's going to richen it. So you see how it's tapered? The fat part gives you less fuel. The bottom part gives you more fuel. So, hopefully I answered those questions. I had another question that was asked. Kevin, my choke is not working properly. This one was a good one. This way here was a real good one. How come my choke is not working properly? The choke system on these bikes are a real simple system. Okay. These are plunger style. There's a plunger right here, which is actually a valve. Okay. See how this one's blocked off right there? And this one is not. This one gets its oxygen from the air horn, but not the side here. This one gets it from the side. It's just a difference. There's no... It doesn't matter. They're the same. It doesn't matter which design you have. They're the exact same. So how it works is... See in the center there, there's a hole. Okay, it comes down through here. Let me see if I can get my... Okay. The hole in the center goes all the way down through. Where are you? Here we go. You'll see this little orifice built into the carburetor, and it goes down to this tube. This tube, with the gasket on it, I'll show you on the KE style right here, with the gasket. So here's the tube, okay, with the gasket, goes around here. See the jet inside that bowl? It comes out here, okay, which is very crusty and blocked up, by the way. This is a junk bowl. What happens is, when you pull that choke, it allows fuel to go from the bowl, when you kick it over, up through that orifice, in through this orifice. See the holes for the oxygen? There they are again. Into here, and then into your, see that hole right there on the side? That's where it comes into. Okay, and through that you're going to get air through the front or side, and you're going to get fuel. Okay, that's how the choke works. Then when you close it down, when you push it back down, it shuts everything off. So when this goes down, no more fuel is being sucked up through here, and no more air is traveling through the air horn on that orifice there. Okay, so my choke's not working. If your choke is not working, check your bowl. You probably have a clogged bowl jet right there. Okay, or you could have a bad gasket. Now notice how there's a big space around it. That's because air fills up inside there, and it uses that extra cavity there is for those little holes. Okay. Once again, you don't want to suck straight gas up. You want it to break up and suck very, like a mist. Those holes make that happen. The fuel level on the carburetor is very important to performance reasons, and I'll tell you why. Because if you have an incorrectly adjusted float, your pilot jet, where is it? On some carburetors, your pilot jet may not be getting the fuel, or these ones right here, you're lucky because these are like straws. They go right into the fuel, but some of them are cut back here. But an incorrect carburetor float adjustment can cause flooding and follow your plugs. And if you adjust it the other way, it can cause a lean condition, because now the carburetor is starving for fuel, and it's going to put more air through it than actual fuel. So there is a very fine line on these things. I was asked about jetting the carburetor back on these main jets. One person bought a bunch of main jets and started doing just the main jets. And what happened was, it had a great idle and a great quarter throttle. And then when you went to go to half throttle, past the quarter throttle, it bogged. It bogged something wicked. And he couldn't figure out. And then all of a sudden, the bike would perk back up again and take off like a rocket. These two right here have to work together. Okay? They're different sizes, but they're within a fraction of each other. The pilot jet, if you're going to do the main jet, you got to do the pilot jet. You can't just do your main jet and expect it to idle to quarter throttle and then go from quarter throttle to full throttle without an issue. So, if you find yourself idling, how would I put this? If you find your top end great, but there's like a really hesitation, you change the main jet, you're going to have to go up one size or two sizes or however many sizes you're going to need on your pilot jet. So the transition, there we go, there's the word I'm looking for. The transition between quarter throttle and half throttle and full throttle are smooth. Okay? You can have a great idle and a great quarter throttle and have a really crappy top end because the jets are just too far apart. So you want to get them. I'm not talking about the numbers. I'm talking you're going to have to test and find out which jet to use. They make jet kits. They start off big and go small. Never start with a small jet and work your way up, and here's why. Because if you put too small of a jet in there, you automatically create a lean condition. You don't want a lean condition. You don't want an over-rich condition. You kind of want a happy medium. So, one way to tell that your bike is lean, is really, really lean, it'll overheat. You'll start to smell it cooking, and it could lead to pre-detonation. So keep that in mind. Too rich, you're going to be following out your plugs. And that's the other part that I wanted to talk to you guys about. Your spark plugs are going to tell you what's going on. If they're black and carboned up and they're not oily, well, then you have a rich condition. You're too rich. If your tip on your spark plug is white, like really, really white, then you have a lean condition. You really want your engine to be at like a tannish color. Okay, your spark plug should be at a tannish color. The spark plug will tell you how the engine is performing, how the engine is running. A black plug, like the soot that's on it, the black soot, will actually cause the plug to break down and fail. So you wanna after a really good, long, hard ride, you're gonna really want to keep an eye on your spark plugs because they tell you the story behind the engine. Basically, I look at a spark plug as a tattletale. They're gonna tell you if there's a problem or if something's just not right. You know what I mean? So keep that in mind. Your spark plug is going to tell you what's going on with the engine. Do I need to adjust my carburetor? Am I burning correctly? Am I getting the proper performance out of this bike? If you get a black plug, then probably not. And the book shows you on the carburetors what jet is used on them. But here's the problem. The bike was made, most of our bikes, you'll look over by your VIN tag on your frame, it says made in the Philippines. Okay? And then they shipped off to America. And then they shipped off to Canada. And then they shipped off to Mexico. Okay? These are extreme conditions, I know. But just bear with me. The jets are not going to be the same. Because of the elevation. Okay? If you're up in the mountain range or if you're at sea level, it's going to be a different jet. Okay? And jetting is very, very important on a carburetor. So you want to get these dialed in. These jets are going to give you the power. Okay? If those are off, you're going to be losing power, wasting fuel, and you're going to be pretty upset with the performance of your bike. The other thing you can do to give yourself more power. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, you talk about more power. I always talk about more power. These little bikes are not, and I keep saying this, they are not motocross bikes. However, that doesn't mean you can have a little bit more, you can't have any fun with them. I love my little KE100s, and my KM100, and my KD80. So, this is a carburetor off of a Suzuki, a DS, what the heck was it? A DS80, okay? And you'll see that the carburetor is a Mikuni, and it's very similar to the ones we have, just that the choke, instead of being it's a plunger style, it's just on this, because it's external, okay? Now, I robbed the needle jet out of this. It's the same carburetor, same needle and C, everything's the same on it. I robbed the needle out of it because of the shape of it. Okay. Wish I had the other one here. This is not the right one. Oh yeah, I can use this one, I guess. Oh, that is the right one. That's the right one. Okay. Yeah. So here is a jet of the what do you call it there? The Mikuni from the DS 80. And then here's the one out of the KE 100. See how fat that thing is? See how thin that one is? And it goes down a little bit further into the jet orifice. So you'll look on the back, you'll see how they're tapered to receive the jets. Okay? Same thing. So you want to make sure that you have a good shape jet. If this is bent, it's going to mess up the flow of fuel. Okay? Performance needle jets are available for our bikes. This one right here, and basically it's going to be this one. This needle right here is going to give you a lot more performance than a really big fat one. because this fat one right here is blocking up too much space and is basically starving the engine for fuel, where this one starts off fat and thins out at the bottom, and it richens right up. And that richness is going to allow my bike to run cooler and faster on top end. So, and because it's a factory thing, I have it set to the middle, but it's not going to be staying there. I'm going to put it to where I need to put it for the adjustment. So, I wanted to talk to you guys. My other question is, how does that stay in there? One person put the slide, this is the slide right here from my KE102 build. You'll see the little ring in the center. That's for this right here. This right here pops in. Okay, and he said that every time he just grabs it and pushes it up like that, he goes, am I missing a part? Yes, you are. You are missing a retainer. Our retainers come in different shapes. Some look like the letter M. Some of the style right here. Some of the style right here. Basically, this one goes in the hole and blocks the cable, and then the spring pushes on top of it. These are designed so the spring itself holds them down. So, I already put my needle in. I'm going to just simply drop this in to where it fits. I don't know if you guys can see that. Dropped it into where it fits. Rotate it if I have to. Yep, there we go. Make sure it's in right where it wants to, where I want it. And of course I got my screwdriver stuck. There we go. Then I put my throttle cable down through here. Pull it down through here, lock it in. Rotate it. And now it moves around a little bit. It's supposed to. But you can't move it up and down, because it's held in with the retainer. And that, my friends, is it. That's all there is to your needle jet. Do not bend these. Make sure they stay straight all the time. Make sure you put them in a safe spot. I recommend, if you have a cotton ball, put it on the end, or something that you can put, like a piece of styrofoam that you can pluck it into, so you don't ruin the tip. Because if they break off, you want to have that nice crisp tip on them. Well, that's it for me. I hope I answered all your questions. I know there's going to be a lot more, and I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. So, we're up over 700, and we're up to 740 subscribers, guys. Thank you very much, and I hope that these videos are helping you guys with your performance needs and just your general overall bike needs. There was one more question. I knew I was going to get asked another question. I forgot about that. All right, where are you? Okay, on the new old style carburetors,